Hello and welcome to another edition of our marketing live streams. For those who are tuning in for the first time, we host a bi-weekly live stream. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified of future live streams. And today I'm super excited for our content that we have. We're going to get into all things revolving around technical SEO and what we include in an audit when we deliver SEO audits for our clients that we work with. For introductions, my name is Ben. I'm the founder of Rise Marketing Group, and I have Jill Lehmann here, who is our SEO lead and really just SEO guru and helps drive organic traffic for us as well as all of our clients. So Jill, thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, so let's just jump right into the content here because we have a lot of really good content to cover. Today's agenda, we're going to go into what is a technical audit. Now, a technical audit has been around for a long time. Many different agencies have different definitions of what's included, and we're going to really break down what's most important that we include within our SEO technical audits. Next, we're going to get into access points for a technical audit of how to uncover this type of information and which platforms that you should have access to. And then we're going to really jump into what does a technical audit include. And as I just mentioned a little while ago, we really prioritize the key things that's going to have the most impact from an SEO perspective. Now we're going to cover canonicals, indexation, metadata, which includes meta title and descriptions, headers, image alt text, and there's a few other things like broken links and URL changes that's really important to take a look at just to make sure that Google and all the other search engines have a really solid understanding of what the site is all about to ultimately help rank higher for the right users looking for information that's on that page or on that site. So getting started, Jill, what is a technical SEO audit?
So for us, a technical audit reviews a site to identify any issues that are impacting visibility and organic search results, anything impacting your search rankings and organic traffic. By identifying these problems, we can better make suggestions to help optimize your site for SEO. This is best done when either you haven't previously invested in SEO or if you're doing any major changes to your site structure, and also when you're before you're implementing any new SEO strategies to your site. It serves as a great starting point too for just improving your site's organic traffic.
Absolutely. And it's so critical that before any real SEO work is done, start off with an audit, because if you just jump into content creation or trying to build up your backlink profile, but your site isn't technically sound, you're not going to get the most impact from all the great content that you're going to be published. So anyone who's just embarking on SEO, whether you're going to do it yourself or hire a firm like Rise Marketing Group, always start off with an audit. And even some of the clients that we work with, if they had an audit done in the past, but maybe it's a couple years old, we always recommend let's just do an audit to start, just to check the box, make sure everything is very sound from a technical standpoint before you start embarking on other elements of SEO. Now, when we start an audit, what are some of the access points that is recommended just to make sure that we're getting all the best information possible to put together technical SEO recommendations?
So like you just mentioned, sharing all these access points is going to give you the most accurate and in-depth review during that audit for any technical SEO issues. So that starts with just getting some website access. If you don't already have Google Search Console, Bing Webmaster Tools, and GA4 set up, then this website access will just help get those set up so that you can review things like canonicals and indexing. With site access, any notable issues on your site's SEO, such as any like blank headers on a page or any missing meta descriptions, those can be double checked through the back end of the site just to clarify and make sure that everything we're reviewing is in line with what looks like it's appearing in the back end of your site. With Google Search Console and Bing Webmaster Tools, you can review important pages that are getting indexed in search results. If there's any pages that aren't getting indexed, this is when you'll be able to see and just make note of those pages that aren't getting indexed and identify any issues that might be causing that to happen. GA4 is good to set up just to show any organic traffic data that might just help guide some of the priority pages to optimize on the site, and just see how users are interacting with each given page currently that are coming from organic traffic.
Yep. Yeah, and here, these are the top ones that we recommend, and really you just want to get as much information as possible when putting together recommendations. And I personally, my favorite on the list is Google Search Console as one of the key access points for a technical audit. And if you log into Google Search Console and Google tells you that something's wrong with your site, you better fix it, because it's just kind of telling you very straightforward. But also it gives you indication, as Jill, you're alluding to, is which pages are being indexed, which pages aren't being indexed. And there could be a variety of issues that Google might be bubbling up, but you also don't want to overlook Bing, because that has a lot of good content there as well. So anyone who's about to embark on a technical audit, make sure that you have all of these different access points just to get started. And now let's get into what's included in an SEO audit. Jill, what are some of the main things that you like to look at?
So some of the things mentioned on the slide are just the most important elements that are reviewed in a technical audit. These are also the ones that most commonly are found to have issues that need to be fixed just to improve your SEO. They're pretty easy wins that you can make adjustments to. So those include canonicals, indexing, metadata, headers on your each page on your site, image alt text, finding any internal, external broken links, URL changes, and any redirects that need to be made from old URLs, and then just reviewing page speed, which goes along with core web vitals as well. And all of these elements are just going to impact Google's understanding of how you want each page on your site to be interacted with by users.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, a technical audit could really cover 20 or 30 different items, but these are the core 8 pieces that we focus on, because in our experiences and knowledge that these are some of the most important ones that are going to have the most impact on a site. So let's jump into canonicals and indexation. Jill, why don't you break down what are canonicals and indexation and how that's included or should be included within a technical SEO audit?
So this is often one of the first things that's reviewed in a technical audit. And the reason being is that any pages that are important should be getting indexed. If they're not getting indexed, then that is immediately something that needs to be we need to start troubleshooting and just figure out why they're not getting indexed. Canonicals will help you avoid duplicate content issues that could either prevent your page from being indexed or hurt your page in search rankings. So both of these are just going to impact how users are able to, or whether your users are able to see your pages in Google search results. And this will really be what brings in the organic traffic that you'll be seeing on your site. So these are important to just make sure that your important pages are getting indexed. Any ones that aren't, you can request indexing or see what the reason is for them not to get indexed, and then making sure that every page has a canonical, especially when there's multiple variants of that page that could put them at risk for duplicate content.
Yep, absolutely. And this is just a good heads up to everyone who is listening. Just because you created a page on your website, could be the best, most thought out page, lots of unique content, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be indexed. So it's really helpful when you do that SEO audit just to make sure all those key pages that you put a lot of time and effort to build are actually getting appropriate credit and Google is indexing it. And Google, through Google Search Console, we'll be able to see which pages are indexed or not. And if it's not being indexed, it'll actually give indication of why it may not be indexed. And one option could be because the canonicals are maybe misplaced. And a key page that you have on your site, you have a canonical that's pointing to another page, which is just telling Google, don't bother with this page, look at another page. So it's super important just to high level, see which pages are even being indexed, and if Google and all the other search engines are able to read that. Thanks for sharing that. Meta titles. Meta titles have been around for a long time, still important for SEO as they have been in the past. Why don't you share a little bit about meta titles, what you recommend, and what you like to avoid when putting together technical recommendations?
So these are a really important indicator to Google what a page on your site is about. When you're in Google search results, this is going to be the title that you see before you click into a site. So it's really important that you make sure that any primary keyword that you want to be targeting on the page, so that's the keyword that most users will be searching for, that you want to start guiding traffic towards your site from. You will want that in the meta title. So that will be the primary keyword in the meta title. Also making sure that if you're separating your brand name or other information from the main title, using a dash instead of a pipe. We often see that there's that vertical line that's being used to separate things in a meta title. You'll actually want to switch that to a dash, as the pipe will mean that it's or. So for one example, it would be men's sneakers or your brand name. That's why you want to have the dash there instead. Making sure that it's short and concise is really important, just to make sure that your entire title is showing up in search results. It's not getting cut off in any sort of way that users won't be able to see the whole title. And putting your primary keywords as close to the front of the title as possible. So you can actually see in the example over there to the right. So if you're doing a page on men's sneakers, you don't want to have shoes before men's sneakers and then shoes before women's sneakers, because men's sneakers and women's sneakers are the most important aspect of that page. You'll want to put that first.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just thinking from a marketing perspective, the title, that blue hyperlink text on the Google search engine results page, I mean, you want to make that as relevant to the search query as possible and as clickable. So you definitely want to include all these elements that Jill's mentioned, including those primary keywords and really moving them up. So that way, when someone does that search, they'll see, okay, you have the exact product or service that I'm looking for. Now, similarly, let's talk about meta descriptions. What are meta descriptions, and what are some of the best practices?
So when you're in search results, there's going to be a little description under the title. That will be your meta description. You'll essentially want this meta description to be a summary that covers all the main points of that web page. So you're telling both Google and users what the main aspects are that you really want to highlight on that page, and those will be in the description. You don't want this description to be too long. So keeping it a maximum of 160 characters, including spaces, is ideal. Making sure you're targeting the right keywords too. So while your meta title will have the primary keyword, your meta description should also make sure that that's in line with the title by either including the primary keyword or a variation of the primary keyword, and any aspects that might be highlighted in the subheadings on the page, you may want to include as well in that description. Avoiding any duplicate descriptions is important too. For the same reason that you set canonicals on pages, you really want to avoid that duplicate content issue. So just making sure that each meta description is unique and not used on any other page. If you don't have a meta description set up, Google will set one. However, setting one yourself is just an opportunity to ensure that the most important aspects of your website or your web page are specified.
Yeah, absolutely. And meta descriptions, I mean, Jill, you'd say are generally overlooked by a lot of the sites that we look at, huh?
Yeah, we do often see a lot of either duplicate descriptions or ones that they may be descriptive, but they may not be fully describing the most important aspects of that web page.
Yep. And and a lot of companies, they might just say, duplicate meta descriptions, or maybe write a description, but may end up being a couple of years old and they just never revisit it. And I always like to think, if you're advertising on Google, let's say with search text ads, would you let one ad copy just run indefinitely for the next couple of years? You probably wouldn't, because there could be better iterations that you should test. Use that same logic for a meta description, making sure it's as relevant as possible to whatever that page is about. And then over time, you can even do some testing to try to even get more relevancy. And by having a better meta description, your click-through rate is going to increase. So you're going to generally get more clicks. And that's a positive ranking signal for Google. So you might even be able to up the ranks for that given page. Headers is also a really important piece of technical SEO. Jill, why don't you share what headers are and how we like to think about optimizing them?
So headers are those little sections of your page. So the H1 will be the title of your page. That will be the first header on the page. Underneath that, though, you may have some subsections, subheadings. So those will be your H2s. The most important thing to keep in mind when you're structuring your headers on a page is that according to Google, most headers should be organized hierarchically. This means that H2s should follow H1s, H3s should follow H2s, and so forth. There's not often a time where you would want, say, an H4 to follow an H1. You'll want to make sure that it's really organized in that hierarchy structure. And the further down your hierarchy you go, your headers go, the less weight they hold. So for this reason, any headers in the footer on that page should be lower in the hierarchy, such as an H4, H5, so that they're not confused as being very high value content points on a page. And that will depend on how your other headers on the page are structured as well. It's easy to make mistakes when headers are set up in the back end of your site. Sometimes we see that people have some accidental blank headers set up, or they have more than one header one. You'll only ever want to have one H1, although you can have multiple H2s, H3s, etc. And then just, making sure if there's any blank headers, you'll just want to have those removed. But a technical audit will be able to review all of these headers, list them all out so you can easily see the current layout, and then that will allow you to know where to make the best changes.
Yep. Super, super helpful. And as you mentioned, Google really values the content that's in these headers. And just to take it 10 steps back is the Google crawlers are insanely powerful, but the internet is massive. And these crawlers have to go literally crawl the entire web. There's only so much crawling budget that a crawler has. So oftentimes they'll first look at the headers of each page and get a lot of contextual signals that way versus manually or through a bot reading every single paragraph. So Google does prioritize headers to understand what the content is about. So it's super important just to take a look at what type of messaging are you sending to Google that is the main topic of the page, header one, and then all the subtopics, H2, H3, H4, and so on and so forth. Image alt text has been around for a long time, still super helpful for technical SEO. Jill, tell us a little bit about how you like to think and optimize image alt text.
So every image on your site should have alt text, and every unique image on the site should have unique alt text. So a lot of times we'll see if there's more than one picture of a product, they'll have the same image alt text for all three images, even though those images are different from each other. So you wouldn't want to have, for example, in this example on the slide, you wouldn't want to have shampoo for curly hair for all three of those images, even though all three of those images may be used to bring across the point of that it's for shampoo for curly hair. You'll want to have a unique description under each of those. Alt text should accurately describe the image in a way that you want both users and Google to understand the purpose of that image being on that page. When an image doesn't load, the alt text will appear instead. So that's when users will be able to see it and understand what image they're missing. And Google is able to read that description as well and just understand why that image is on that page.
Yep. Be as specific as possible about that image. It's another super helpful signal to Google to understand more content that's on your page. In an image form, it's kind of hard for Google to really understand that. So be very specific within that image alt text. Now, we covered the main ones and main elements within technical audit, but it definitely doesn't end there. There's a couple other ones worthy of chatting about. So Jill, why don't you walk us through some of the additional technical audit suggestions that we recommend to review?
Sure. So the first thing to review is just broken links. If there's any internal or external broken links, they should be found and either removed or replaced. They don't have any sort of value to users. If anything, it just gets very confusing because they either can't access a page or it doesn't take them anywhere where they're supposed to be. The next one would just be URL changes. So URLs should always be following those best practices outlined for URL structures. So any URLs that are not following best practices should be changed. And then if there are any URL changes that are made, any old URLs should then redirect to the new one. The next one on there is just page speed and core web vitals. So just ensuring that for optimal user experience, just reviewing your page speed and making sure your core web vitals are not failing. There's a few tools you can use to review this, and you'll be able to just troubleshoot any issues that are leading to a slower page speed or just really poor user experience. Duplicate content, as mentioned before, each page should have unique content from the meta title to the description. They should all have unique URLs, unique headers, unique content. Each page should have its own purpose. The last one on there is just schema. So when schema is not set up properly, it can do more harm than good to your site. So if there's any schema during the technical audit that we review that just is invalid, that should either be replaced or removed. And then just making sure that your schema that is valid is just being properly used. So there's a lot of different structured data markup that you can have on a page, but just making sure that you're using the right ones and you're using them in the purpose that they should be used for.
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite on this list is URL changes. We're going through this right now with an existing SEO client, is just taking a look at the URL structure. Does it make sense for the business? A lot of times sites are created that maybe doesn't cover the full breadth of products and services that they're at now. So you really want to be insanely mindful of what the URL structure is. Does it follow SEO best practices? And is it really set up for success for the business for future product lines and services that they may offer? That's a big one in my part, but all of these are super important. As we wrap up this webinar, I'm really grateful for everyone to join. As I mentioned earlier on, for those who are tuning in, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Rise MKG, because every other week we are hosting a webinar. We're still in the middle of doing a lot of SEO webinars. We just wrapped up our technical series, and now we're going to get into content. So be sure to subscribe. And of course, if anyone needs help assessing their site from a technical perspective, contact us. Our website is risemkg.com. Email me directly, ben@risemkg. Jill, always a pleasure having you. Thank you so much. And we look forward to having you on again sometime soon.
Thank you.